What are some of the most toxic or potentially dangerous ideas/beliefs that have been perpetuated by Redditors? We did it, Reddit. We destroyed DA and found the Boston Marathon bomber. I still feel very bad for that kid. R.I.P. Witch hunts and doxing are okay if the average Reddit user doesn't like the target. Vigilante justice is cool. Everybody wants to be Batman, but they don't stop to think if they are actually one of the many Gotham homeless. Glorification of selfishness. I get the impression a ton of people on this site have difficulty asserting themselves, or recognizing or setting their own boundaries, because Reddit is full of advice geared toward people with these problems. What these posters seem to forget is that not everyone is codependent with self-esteem through the floor. And yet anytime anyone wants to get out of something that someone else wants them to do, Reddit leaps to no is a complete sentence. Put yourself first. Don't jade. In real life though, maintaining healthy relationships requires sometimes doing things you aren't thrilled about for others' sake. Sometimes I think I'm here to feel well-adjusted. Absolutely hating on those that deviate from the norm. Hating on people that conform to society's norms but not Reddit's norms. Hating on people trying to have fun or hobbies. Because anytime you have a group of people who believe something and a platform where they can get together, this will happen. My sister-in-law has a mental condition where she believes in basically that kind of stuff, and it has completely destroyed her life. Only after years of work has she gotten to the point where those thoughts come more infrequently. If she ever found out about that subreddit, I can only imagine it would get rid of all that work and lead her down a rabbit hole of self-destruction. It really is a terrible thing. Reddit is very much guilty until proven innocent. They will jump straight down the throat of any alleged criminal with zero facts, zero context, and demand they be sentences to years behind bars, or worse. Hell, they don't even care if it's the right guy, just that somebody be punished. Not to mention all the one-upsmanship that always seems to happen as if Aaron tries to seem more morally absolute than everyone else. He deserves to be fed to wild dogs. That's too kind, he deserves to be castrated first. No, it'll be over too quickly. We need to skin him with a rusty cheese grater. He might bleed out, we need to dip him into a vat of sulfuric acid feet first. He might pass out from the shock, we need to have him get raped by a bear and shoot 5,000 volts through his nipples before sticking a glass vial full of Ebola blood up his urethra and breaking it. I've been downvoted to hell for the simple comment along the lines of, maybe we should wait for all the evidence to come out. We don't know the whole story. Reddit is absolutely bloodthirsty. Yeah, it really bothers me when people wish prison rape on others. Aside from high rates of wrongful conviction, you shouldn't wish prison rape on anybody. Prison is supposed to be a place where people are rehabilitated, not raped to smithereens. Reddit has a tendency to label people toxic and encourage relationship advice that isn't great. People don't come here looking for advice, they come here for affirmation. I always read to never take advice from r/relationship advice and r/relationships, etc. and to be honest, I unsubscribed from them. I read them every day and those issues seem worse than they actually are. People tend to go to others instead of their partners. Redditors don't know both sides. You're always going to hear, leave, red flags, toxic. I think people go to those subs because they want to hear someone tell them to break off the relationship. They're looking for a push in the direction they've already picked. In real life, people tend to swing to the other extreme with advice. You can make it work, but you're such a cute couple, but he/she seems so nice even for clearly abusive relationships. Worshipping celebrities. 10-year-olds don't need to receive death threats because he's never heard of a 55-year-old actor. Edit: I really didn't think I had to say this, but the kid didn't use Reddit. Redditors still banded together to harass and threaten him. He didn't violate the 13+ rule, not that that matters, because you shouldn't send death threats to 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, or adults for that matter. Can't believe that needed to be said. Hey Reddit, why do you like Keanu so much? Because of how nice he is? Why don't you follow his example? There is a joke about humanity's ability to follow the example of a saintly individual from Nazareth in there, but someone better with words will have to tease it out. Mahatma Gandhi, I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. They are so unlike your Christ. Not sure if I have the exact quote, but that's the gist. Along a similar line. The greatest single cause of atheism in the world today is Christians, who honor Jesus with their lips, then walk out the door and deny him by their lifestyles. That is what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable. Tilda Brennan Manning. Think about the subjects that you have an immense amount of knowledge about. Maybe you've spent your whole life studying it. Now think about all the times you've seen a well-written comment on Reddit with thousands of upvotes that is completely and verifiably wrong. Now think about all the subjects you know nothing about, and all the times you've learned something from a well-written comment with thousands of upvotes. I laugh about this with friends. 98% of the medical discussion I read here is at least partially incorrect, and oftentimes grossly incorrect, though gets a swarm of upvotes. Despite me knowing this, everything I read about audio gear and PC topics I treat as gospel if it has a lot of upvotes. I think a lot of us, myself included, forget that you're far more likely to get heavily upvoted for an early comment with a funny or snarky comment than you are for a fully factual or on-topic comment. Once the train starts rolling, up or down, the content doesn't matter nearly as much as the responses of the first few people to read it. To an extent, Reddit plays a role in the growing anti-intellectualism. There seems to be a large assumption that this is a website of experts and lengthy replies must be credible. I saw a fellow Redditor describe it perfectly: you finally realize how little most Redditors know when they start talking about a topic you happen to be well researched in. I see this in two places primarily: topics about public education, I am a middle school teacher, and topics such as anti-vaccine. I understand Reddit hates anti-vax for good reason, but it is also stuck in the old anti-vaxxers are just stupid stereotype. Instead of educating and helping the problem, they just poke fun. This unfortunately drives more anxious parents toward anti-vax communities. A little empathy, understanding, and education would do more to combat ideologies such as anti-vaccines than anything Reddit actually does. Those people who make introversion out to be an excuse for some pretty terrible antisocial / misanthropic / unacceptable behavior. I don't like loud spaces and can feel overwhelmed by crowds of people. I would pay not to go to a concert. I also genuinely love the people in my life and will always make time for anyone who needs me. In my experience, this is true for everyone, extroverts and introverts alike. Love yourself before you love someone else. While the intention is good, some people take that a little bit too far. Having a disability is something to accept. This should, however, not mean that necessary or cold surgeries should not be done. I have seen a lot of blowback when someone says, I struggle with this disability, and the next person says, oh, my relative had that same thing, and they had this relatively inexpensive and low-effort thing done and now they're living a fuller life. How dare you say she's not living a full life? You're not disabled, you don't know the blah blah blah. Who are you to say she has to have surgery to correct her disability? That disability is part of her life. You can't tell someone how to live their life because they don't meet your standards, etc.